A little bit of a different one today. I'm going to be reviewing 1984. This is a book I read this year. I had a New Year's Eve or a New Year's resolution to read 12 books in 12 months, and I bet you can guess how that's going. I'm going to be doing that same goal again next year, and although I did not hit my goal, I have been reading. I've been reading more. This is one that I had on the top of my list to read in 2024. And I'm definitely glad I did. It's a really good book. And so I thought I'd make a video kind of reviewing it, whether I'd recommend it or not. This book is about an authoritarian regime from the perspective of someone who's questioning the authoritarian regime. The main character's name is Winston. And Winston is I want to say middle class guy in this society, but there's not really a middle class. There's those at the top, those in control, their employees, the ones they employ to control the rest of the population, and then there's the largest group called the proles. But this book really touches on what an authoritarian regime looks like, a little bit of what leads up to it, how it started, what causes it, and how it can be overcome. But mostly it's what it looks like in practice, and Winston's experience as what he observes. This book is basically a warning. It's a warning about what could happen. And it's told in third person, but the book is entirely given from his perspective. And there's not much dialogue. It's not a very dialogue-heavy book, although there is dialogue. It's certainly there, but most of this book is you're in Winston's head, and like I said, it's told from third person, but you spend a lot of it in his head, his thoughts, what he observes other people. He tells you how he's feeling, and a lot of it is kind of depressing in a way. I wouldn't call it a very depressing book, but it deals with some pretty heavy material. This book is a classic. I'd be very surprised if you've never heard of this book. It's referenced constantly in modern media, and it's timeless. It really is. It's always relevant. I think the mark of a good book, one of the marks of a good book, is whether it's relevant over any period of time. You could really put the morals and the lessons that it's trying to convey, or the situations that it's trying to tell, into any point in history, and it would still be relevant. It was written in the late 40s, still very relevant today, and it will be relevant in hundreds of years. This is because the author, George Orwell, really knows the subject matter. You can tell he's done his research. He's put a lot of thought into this. This book is very thorough. It's by no means surface level. At some points, it's a little too thorough, in my opinion. But like I said, there's dialogue, but most of it is the thought process of our main character and the people around him. And he gives this perspective of Winston. Winston goes out day by day. He sees almost the same things. His life is always kind of the same as it ever was. You know, that's very much what the society is. It's very routine. It's very controlled. But Winston starts questioning what he's seeing around him. People swallowing propaganda without even questioning what they're seeing. Even when things are getting worse, and they do get worse. He notices people only question when things are affecting them personally. He talks about how power can only be brought down if people recognize contradictions in the midst of a constant flow of lies, how power to change a corrupt government lies only in the people. And all these things are going through his mind. He's really going through a change personally. And he can't say anything to almost anybody. You know, this is all in his head. This book is split into 3 parts. And the first part is largely just Winston and what he's thinking and what he's feeling. There are a couple times when he's like sitting down at lunch and he's talking to other people, but there's no deep conversations. I mean, dialogue between characters is very limited because that's how the regime wants it to be. You know, they don't want any independent thought. So the first third of this book is really Winston's observations, and it's really interesting. I think the first third is my favorite part of the book, but this book really is a thought experiment. It's almost like George Orwell had this in his head for a long time, and he really wanted to put it in terms of a story in the best way he could. You know, how could this regime affect a certain person, and if this person decided to question this regime, what would that look like for him? how would he end up? What would he be thinking? What would his fears be? And I think he does it very well. And he throws in this character and it's like, okay, how would this person deal with this situation? I think he does an excellent job with that. George Orwell, you can tell, even when he's talking through his characters, you can tell it's George Orwell's thoughts on a situation like this. You know, he says verbatim, this is one of the quotes from the book, and he's talking about the proles, the common people. He says, until they become conscious, they will never rebel. And until they have rebelled, they cannot become conscious. If that sentence scares you, you're not going to like this book. You're just not going to like it if you think that, you know, that's a radical idea. This book does not mince words. It's not trying to beat around the bush or be subtle. This book is not subtle, anything but. He has his own vocabulary in this book, a vocabulary that's ingrained in the society, in this fictional society. Things like thought crime. They're really just two words slammed together. But he gives this word thought crime, and it's an official word that the regime tells its people that you can't even think in any sort of rebellious way, much less your actions, but you can't even think. Doing so is a crime. They even have a thought police to scare the people, and these people are legitimately afraid that these thought police exist. Especially in the early bits of this book, Winston is afraid to death to even think against what he is told and what he is told to believe and told to act. There's a section at work, I think it's once a week, where Winston and the rest of his coworkers have to go to. It's called the 2 Minutes Hate, and they literally watch they watch this video. It's this propaganda video on this character, this rebellion, the leader of a rebellion that's way out in like a different country, and how much they should hate this guy. And yet they all yell at they all get up, like all the coworkers actually get up and they start yelling at this guy. Like, I hate this guy, you know, long live the regime and all this. And it's very visceral. It's very, it's kind of like disturbing, but it's really interesting because Winston's like, I don't think anybody here wants to be doing this. There are some people that are on board with this authoritarian government, but largely nobody really wants to speak or act or even think against it. And because of that, everyone lives in a constant state of fear. Winston works for he works for a Department of Information where his sole job is to take, you know, news articles, books, and wipe them. He takes information that could be contradictory to the regime and he just deletes them or removes them or burns them. Usually he changes them and puts them back into the system. So it's very much information control is his job. It's his career. So yeah, I don't want to give away too much of this book. I don't want to spoil anything because it is worth reading, and there's a lot to say that I can't say that would give away the key bits of the story and key parts of what Orwell is trying to get to the reader and is trying to put out into the world. But it's a very good book. I did not like the whole thing. I don't think it's a perfect book. I do think it deserves this place as a classic, but good storytellers know to show and not tell. And that basically means if you have a message that you want to put into a book, you show it through actions and through what's going on in the story and how characters react and how characters feel, instead of just telling it verbatim. You know, this is what you should believe about this, like putting your ideas into strict words, which is tough to do in a book. Orwell does it very well, but there's one chapter in here, and it's the longest chapter of the book, that is quite literally an exposition dump of ideas. And I see why it needed to be in here, but it's extremely long, and I got extremely bored, I'll be honest. That part of the book really did drag, and it's around about 2/3 in. So other than that one chapter, the chapter is literally Winston reading a book, and it's long. But other than that, very good book. I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. I think this should be required reading in high school. I know some high schools do read this book. I did not. And there's some, like I said, there's some heavy material in here, but I do recommend anyone read this book if you can stomach the heavy subject matter. And yeah, that's about it. Let me know if you've read this book. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you want more book reviews. I've got some books that I've been reading that I have read. I think I will have some more book reviews, but let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing. See ya.